Could the world be on the brink of another global conflict? Could the Third World War be a reality? These questions, chilling as they are not mere products of fanciful imagination. In fact, they are rooted in the current global scenario that is marred by rising tensions among nations, often on the verge of boiling over. The world today is a complex web of interconnected nations, each with its own sets of ideologies, interests, and fears. Amid this intricate global landscape, the actions of a few can alter the course of history for many. The presidents of Russia, North Korea, and the United States, in particular, wield considerable influence in this potential conflict. Take Russia, for instance. Its geopolitical strategies and military interventions have often caused ripples of unease across the globe. The nation's reliance on the West for medical supplies, coupled with the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and the subsequent sanctions, have further complicated matters. North Korea, on the other hand, continues to be a wild card in global politics. Its nuclear ambitions and the unpredictable nature of its leadership have been sources of constant worry for the international community. Meanwhile, the United States, with its vast military might and global influence, plays a crucial role in maintaining international peace and stability. However, its involvement in numerous conflicts across the globe often raises questions about potential escalation. These tensions, if left unchecked, could spiral into a conflict of unimaginable proportions, a Third World War. Such a conflict would not be confined to the borders of the warring nations. Its shockwaves would reverberate across the globe, affecting every aspect of human life, from the economy to the environment, from technology to human rights. In the coming scenes, we delve deeper into the political dynamics that could potentially trigger this catastrophic event. To understand the possibility of a Third World War, we must first dissect the political dynamics between Russia, North Korea, and the United States. Let's start with Russia and the United States, two global powers with a history of conflict dating back to the Cold War. Although the Cold War ended decades ago, tensions remain high. One major point of contention is the situation in Ukraine, a conflict that has already led to sanctions against Russia and strained relations with other countries. The role of the presidents in this situation cannot be understated. Their decisions could either escalate this conflict into a global catastrophe or steer the world away from the brink of war. Next, we have North Korea, a wildcard in the global political arena. Its nuclear ambitions have been a source of concern for the international community, particularly for the United States. While diplomatic efforts have been made to curb North Korea's nuclear program, the unpredictability of its leadership raises the stakes. The country's isolation and its leader's volatile nature add a layer of complexity to the situation. It's a delicate balance between diplomacy and deterrence, and the role of the presidents is crucial in maintaining this balance. The relationship between Russia and North Korea, on the other hand, is marked by strategic cooperation. Both countries share a common interest in challenging U.S. global dominance, which could potentially unify them in a larger conflict. However, their alliance is not without friction, and any misstep could lead to a falling out, further complicating the global political landscape. Lastly, the relationship between these three countries is not just about them. It's a web of alliances, treaties, economic ties, and historical grudges that spans the globe. The decisions made by the presidents of Russia, North Korea, and the United States don't just impact their own countries, they ripple out, affecting the entire world. With such complex political relations, the question remains, how could these dynamics lead to a Third World War? Imagine a world plunged into chaos, nations at war, and humanity at stake. What would a Third World War look like? A Third World War, given the current political dynamics, would not be confined to conventional warfare. It would be a war fought on multiple fronts: economic, digital, and psychological, along with the traditional military front. The interconnectivity of today's world means that the ripple effects of such a conflict would be felt globally, affecting nations far removed from the immediate battlefields. Picture this: the world's superpowers locked in conflict, with alliances shifting and the balance of power constantly in flux. The potential involvement of countries such as Russia, North Korea, and the United States would mean that nuclear weapons could come into play, raising the stakes to apocalyptic levels. The war would likely begin with a series of escalating tensions, culminating in a trigger event that plunges the world into chaos. From there, it would evolve rapidly, fueled by advancements in technology that allow for warfare to be conducted from afar, with drones and cyber attacks becoming as common as boots on the ground. The global economy would take a hit as trade routes are disrupted and markets react to the uncertainty. This, in turn, would lead to a spike in inflation, exacerbating the economic hardship felt by millions. The digital front would be equally tumultuous. Cyber warfare would likely play a significant role, with state-sponsored hackers targeting critical infrastructure, causing widespread disruption and panic. This could lead to power outages, disruption of communication networks, and even manipulation of financial systems. On the psychological front, propaganda would play a key role. Social media would become a battleground, with misinformation campaigns designed to sow discord and confusion among the populace. Meanwhile, other nations, not directly involved in the conflict, would feel the repercussions. Supply chains would be disrupted, leading to shortages of essential goods. Humanitarian crises would unfold as displaced persons seek refuge in neighboring countries, straining their resources and stoking social tensions. A third world war would undoubtedly have devastating consequences. But what exactly would it mean for humanity? Scene script. War is never just about the nations involved. It's about the people, the lives disrupted, the societies shattered. What would be the humanitarian cost of a third world war? Imagine the world as we know it, abruptly upended. The global conflict would be unlike anything we've seen before. It would be a war fought not only on land, sea, and air, but also in the digital realm, where countries' infrastructures could be crippled without a single physical weapon being deployed. Cities would be reduced to rubble, and the very fabric of society would be torn apart. Civilian lives would be caught in the crossfire, with millions potentially losing their lives. The sanctity of human life, so often taken for granted, would be stripped away in an instant. The impact on healthcare systems, already stretched thin by ongoing challenges, would be devastating. As we've seen in Russia, sanctions can disrupt the supply of critical medical equipment, putting lives at risk. Now imagine this on a global scale, with hospitals struggling to cope and essential medical supplies dwindling. Food and water supplies, too, would be in jeopardy. As we've witnessed in India, disruptions to the supply chain can lead to shortages of essential items. With global conflict, these shortages could become the norm, leading to widespread hunger and thirst. The societal disruptions would be profound. Entire communities would be displaced, leading to an unprecedented refugee crisis. The mental toll on survivors would be incalculable, with trauma echoing through generations. The education of children would be disrupted, leaving a void in our collective future. The dreams and aspirations of a whole generation could be wiped out, replaced by the harsh realities of survival in a war-torn world. And let's not forget the economic repercussions. The global economy would be in free fall, with job losses and financial instability becoming widespread. The fight against poverty would be set back by decades, widening the gap between the haves and the have-nots. The human cost of a third world war is unimaginable. But could such a catastrophic event be avoided? In a world on the brink of conflict, the pursuit of peace becomes paramount. How can a third world war be prevented? The answer lies in diplomacy, international cooperation, and the strength of global institutions. In the intricate web of global politics, diplomacy serves as the thread that can bind nations together, fostering understanding and mutual respect. It is through diplomatic dialogues that we can address grievances, manage conflicts, and build bridges of trust. Take, for instance, the European Union's role in providing financial aid to Ukraine and imposing sanctions on Russia. This move illustrates how international alliances can exert pressure on nations to adhere to global norms and principles. By leveraging their collective power, such institutions can deter aggressive actions and maintain global peace. Furthermore, the power of negotiation cannot be underestimated. The art of negotiation is about finding common ground and making concessions for the greater good. It's about fostering a climate where nations can voice their concerns, grapple with their differences, and arrive at mutual agreements. Consider the thawing of medical gear exports from the West to Russia. This shows that even amid conflict and sanctions, channels of negotiation can be opened to address urgent humanitarian needs. It's a testament to the power of dialogue and cooperation in times of crisis. Moreover, international cooperation is crucial. In an interconnected world, our fates are intertwined. When one nation suffers, the impact reverberates across the globe. Therefore, it is in our collective interest to prevent a global conflict. Nations need to work together, share resources, and uphold international law to create a peaceful global order. Lastly, the role of civil society and public opinion cannot be overlooked. From the civil rights movement to the Black Lives Matter movement, we've seen how societal pressure can influence policy changes and bring about social justice. In the same way, a global citizenry that is informed, empathetic, and peace-oriented can exert pressure on their governments to avoid war and seek peaceful solutions. While the threat of a third world war looms, the pursuit of peace remains our best hope. For the sake of humanity, may we never have to witness such a catastrophe.